Hey there, Jake Lowwater. I'm a couples therapist in Colorado, and I help empaths and engineers go from emotional disconnection to emotionally reunited in couples therapy. I wanted to talk today about a tool that I use that's pretty transformational for couples in terms of their communication dynamics. And this tool has the potential, and I've seen it work uh, time and time again, to break through those stalemates that we often get caught in. The fight that we've been having for, the last maybe 10 or 20 years, even, the one that we have stopped bringing up because it doesn't get us anywhere. We both have our positions, we both take our sides, and it just doesn't happen. It doesn't go anywhere. It's the same old fight that it's always been, and there hasn't been progress on that. And there's many reasons why. The tool is a 4-part process, and it's really very simple, and yet it is very powerful. So I'll describe what those 4 parts are. I'll even break them down, and then we'll even talk about what does this look like in real life, in real language, and then what to do about it. So the 4 parts are number 1, data we observe. So what is the information? So objective, without any skew, without blaming, without shaming, like what occurred that you can observe. Oftentimes couples get into the judgments and criticisms here, but really it is about the data. An outside observer would say these things occurred. Number 2 is how we feel about it. So what feeling did it evoke in us? And usually that's can be a vulnerable place of, I felt this when you did that. Number 3 is what need got exposed there. And this is a little bit confusing for some couples, what need got exposed is, well, I really, there's a vulnerability, there's a fear, there's an insecurity there. And so what need got exposed oftentimes is around safety or security or respect or presence or attention, or compassion, consideration. I mean, there's a lot that gets exposed within those needs. That part usually is what's holding everything up. Is I need to feel like a priority in this relationship. And oftentimes couples get stuck in number 1, which is just the observations, which is just the data and the information of what occurred. And oftentimes couples want to fight back and forth about what they observe, about whose reality is real, whose opinion and perspective is more important than the other. And that's almost a bit off topic, honestly. It doesn't help get to a place of deeper feeling and deeper understanding. And that stuckness is oftentimes because it doesn't feel safe to be vulnerable, and we also aren't able to express the needs that we have in the relationship and have them heard and understood. The 4th part, number 4, is about making a request. And some couples feel like requests can really become demands, but there's the understanding that this would help me around this need in the future. And then oftentimes I say this can go into negotiations, which is, what is your partner willing to do? And that becomes a bit of a collaborative approach. The idea behind this tool on communication is getting to an emotional depth and clarity that oftentimes we miss or skip over because we're not listening to those deeper needs. So usually it's data, number 1, and then there's the feelings attached to that experience, the interaction, and then there's the need that got exposed. So a deeper need, core value or core belief, or core identity. And then the last one is a request for reconciliation or what is maybe needed in the future around this, should it come up in the same way that it just did. So oftentimes I hear, for example, that we're all very distracted in our world right now. It's a distracting time. There's a lot to doom scroll. There's a lot of information. to consume. There's a lot of things to pull us in different directions. And understandably, there's opportunities for us to miss each other in communication. So what does this tool really look like for couples? For example, I've heard this one recently, which is you're always on your phone, you're never listening to me, you don't care about me, and whoever you're talking to or whatever you're looking at is somehow more important than me. So if we translate that idea to this 4-part process, it becomes a lot more vulnerable, and it also comes to the place of, well, what's going on for the person versus what are they experiencing of their partner. And I'll clarify what that means. So usually number 1 is, well, I noticed that you picked up your phone in the middle of this conversation. Data, information. How did I feel about it? Well, I felt hurt. I felt hurt, and I feel sad about that experience because we were connecting. The deeper need, usually around presence or attention, is, well, I need to feel like a priority in our relationship, and that when we're talking about important things, that we can talk about them together, that we have attention on these important things. And then request is a simple request. In the future, in these conversations, would you please put your phone down? Would you please focus on us and what we're experiencing in this moment? That is typically a very different conversation. That's a simple 4-part process, but usually, like I said, we get stuck in the first parts. We get stuck in what's going on, what's happening, and then we get to shame, blame, judge, and criticize. And that is all, in a way, off topic, because there's a struggle, there's a challenge, and oftentimes when there's struggles and challenges, we feel alone in them. And as best as we try, we kind of circle around it over and over and over again, because we're just focusing on the data and maybe the feelings, but not the needs. And then our partner isn't in a place of understanding that, so they often miss that point too. And so there's misses across the board. It's a simple tool. I'll actually drop it in the description. So there's a link where you can see this model played out in 2 parts, where one person has the opportunity to take the left side of the page, which is practice speaking, and the other partner has the right side of the page, which is reflecting and listening. And there's structures, there's ways in which to have this conversation, and that 1-page document really does lay that all out, which is helpful. What I find with this tool in particular is it can feel a little clinical. It can feel a bit prescriptive, and it is. It's not how couples talk, not at all. So getting this tool into what I say is common language, the language that couples actually communicate with each other, does take some work. So there's a little bit of a learning curve with this tool, and what's really powerful is once that curve gets learned, once there is the understanding of how to implement this tool in a language that works for both people, it can really transform that argument that's been going for the last 20 years, which is really cool. I often hear with this one in particular, it slows things down to a degree where both people feel like, oh, I never realized this is what we've been arguing about, the deeper need, the request for the future. Usually it's all about hurt feelings. It's all about what happened. It's not about what each person experienced. And this tool really does give the opportunity for that, which is really transformational. So again, that 4-part process, I will put it in the link, and I'll put a link in the description below. But it's really simple. It's data, it's feelings, it's the need that got exposed, and then the last one is the request for the future. Simple tool, sometimes hard to implement. So if you're interested to know more about this one in particular, I'd be happy to meet with you for a consultation. I do help couples in your situation go from a feeling of, wow, we keep having the same fight and making no progress. Sometimes what's needed is another impartial third party to help the conversation move forward, help break the impasse in that conflict and do something different. There's a link in the description as well to set up a consultation call. So if you're interested in meeting for a consultation, it's free, and we can talk about your communication dynamics and even talk about what are those deeper needs and requests that you have in your relationship that you're not getting to because you're still kind of running around fighting about what happened and what it meant instead of how you feel about it. All right, thanks.